Aging is inevitable. No matter how young, rich, or wise we are, we all eventually face old age. The real challenge is how we can embrace this stage of life with grace and wisdom, ensuring that it brings us peace rather than suffering. This Buddhist tale offers 4 powerful lessons that can guide us through the challenges of aging, helping us live with joy, dignity, and contentment. Imagine a wise sage who appears just at the right time to offer insight into life's most difficult periods. In the following story, a monk shares 4 vital teachings to an aging couple who are struggling to cope with their diminishing energy and strained relationships. These teachings serve not only as advice for them, but also as valuable life lessons for us all. Chapter 1. The first lesson: mind your words. In the autumn of life, when age has stripped away the vigor of youth, the power of our words takes on new significance. It is said that with age comes wisdom, but wisdom is not always gentle. As people grow older, they may lose some of the restraint that once held their thoughts back, and with that, their words can cut deeper than before. In our younger years, we may speak rashly or bluntly, unaware of how much damage we can inflict with a few careless sentences. However, as age tempers our ambitions and desires, it is also the time to temper our tongues. The first lesson the monk imparts to the elderly couple is that of restraint in speech. He tells them that words, once spoken, cannot be taken back. They linger in the minds of others, sometimes creating lasting wounds that are difficult to heal. When we are old, our influence over the physical world diminishes, but our ability to affect others emotionally remains strong, if not stronger. This is why it becomes essential to be mindful of what we say. The couple in the story had spent years casually criticizing their daughter-in-law. They had not realized how their constant disapproval had slowly poisoned the relationship. Their remarks about her cooking, the way she managed the household, and even her personal choices had driven a wedge between them. They saw their daughter-in-law's growing distance as a sign of disrespect, but they failed to see how their own words had contributed to the tension. The monk's advice was simple but profound. Words are like seeds. If you plant seeds of kindness and understanding, the result will be harmony and love. But if you sow seeds of criticism and harshness, only resentment will grow. It's not enough to be right in what you say, you must also be kind. The couple began to reflect on how many times they had spoken out of frustration, not realizing the impact their words had on their family. With age comes a greater need to choose words carefully, because they carry the weight of all our years of experience and authority. In a modern context, this lesson remains ever relevant. For example, think about an aging parent who feels left out of their children's lives. Instead of expressing their loneliness or desire for connection, they might lash out with criticisms about how their children manage their own homes or raise their kids. This only serves to push their children further away. But if they were to communicate their feelings honestly and kindly, they might find their children responding with empathy and understanding. As people age, they often feel a sense of loss of control, loss of independence, and loss of relevance. This sense of loss can make them more irritable and prone to speaking without considering the consequences. The monk's teaching reminds us that this is the time to be even more cautious with our words. By recognizing the power we still have through our speech, we can foster an atmosphere of love and respect rather than alienation and bitterness. This concept of mindful speech is deeply rooted in Buddhist philosophy. The Buddha often spoke about right speech, one of the key elements of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right speech means abstaining from lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, and idle chatter. It is the practice of speaking truthfully and kindly, in a way that promotes understanding and compassion. For the elderly, this practice is not just about spiritual discipline, but also about maintaining harmony in the family and community. As the couple in the story learned, words have a lasting impact, especially in the close confines of a family. When we speak kindly, we build trust and intimacy. When we speak harshly, we create distance. The elderly, with their wealth of experience, have the power to guide the younger generations through their words. But to do so effectively, they must speak with the wisdom of their years, not the frustration of their aging bodies. Over time, the couple began to see the changes in their household. When they started choosing their words more carefully, their daughter-in-law responded with more warmth. The household became a more peaceful place, and the tension that had once hung in the air like a dark cloud slowly dissipated. They realized that it wasn't just what they said, but how they said it, that made all the difference. This first lesson is a reminder to all of us, but especially to those in their later years, that the way we communicate can either build bridges or burn them down. By being mindful of our words, we not only bring peace to those around us, but also to ourselves. Chapter 2. The second lesson: patience and timing. The second lesson the monk shares is equally important: patience, particularly when it comes to expectations of others. As we age, we often find ourselves relying more on those around us for assistance. Tasks that were once easy, like preparing a meal or cleaning the house, become more difficult. This dependency can create frustration, especially if our needs aren't met as quickly as we would like. However, the monk reminds the couple that patience is key to maintaining harmony in these situations. In the story, the couple had developed a habit of demanding things from their daughter-in-law at inconvenient times. If they wanted something while she was busy cooking or tending to other chores, they would expect her to drop everything and attend to their needs immediately. When she didn't, they would grow irritable and accuse her of being disrespectful. This constant tension strained their relationship to the breaking point. The monk's lesson here is that we must learn to be patient, especially as we grow older. We must recognize that the younger generation has their own responsibilities, and that they may not always be able to meet our demands right away. This doesn't mean they don't care. It simply means that we need to give them the space and time to fulfill our needs. Patience is not just about waiting, it's about waiting with grace. It's about understanding that the world does not revolve around us, no matter how much we may want it to. As the monk explained, when we demand something from others, we must consider their circumstances. Is it a good time to ask for help? Are they already occupied with something important? By being patient and considerate, we not only show respect for their time, but also make it more likely that they will want to help us. In today's world, this lesson is just as relevant. For example, imagine an elderly parent who constantly asks their adult child for help with various tasks. If the parent is demanding and impatient, the child may start to feel overwhelmed and resentful. But if the parent shows patience and understanding, the child is more likely to respond with kindness and willingness to help. Patience creates an atmosphere of cooperation, while impatience breeds frustration. The monk also touched on the idea that patience is a form of generosity. By being patient, we are giving others the gift of time to finish their own tasks, time to prepare mentally for helping us, and time to respond in a way that is thoughtful rather than rushed. This kind of generosity fosters goodwill and strengthens relationships. Patience, however, is not always easy, especially as we age. The elderly often feel a sense of urgency that younger people do not. They may feel that time is running out, and this can make them more impatient. But the monk reminds us that patience is a virtue that grows stronger with practice. The more we practice patience, the easier it becomes to wait without frustration. In the story, the couple slowly began to practice patience with their daughter-in-law. They stopped demanding things immediately, and instead learned to wait for the right moment to ask for help. Over time, they noticed that their daughter-in-law became more willing to assist them because she no longer felt pressured or overwhelmed. The atmosphere in the household became more relaxed, and the tension that had once caused so much strife began to dissolve. This lesson in patience is not just about aging, it's about life. Whether we are young or old, learning to be patient with others is essential for maintaining healthy relationships. By giving people the time and space they need, we create an environment of mutual respect and understanding. The monk's teaching on patience is also deeply rooted in Buddhist philosophy. In Buddhism, patience is considered one of the 6 perfections, paramithas, that lead to enlightenment. It is seen as the ability to endure difficult situations without becoming angry or frustrated. For the elderly, patience is especially important because it allows them to accept the limitations of their bodies and the realities of aging with grace and dignity. As the couple in the story learned, patience is not just about waiting, it's about waiting with understanding and compassion. It's about recognizing that others have their own needs and responsibilities, and that by being patient, we are showing respect for their time and effort. This kind of patience creates harmony in relationships and brings peace to both the giver and the receiver. Chapter 3. The third lesson: accepting mistakes gracefully. Mistakes are an inevitable part of life, and this becomes even more apparent as we age. Our bodies grow weaker, our minds slower, and the tasks that once seemed simple become more challenging. The third lesson the monk imparts to the elderly couple is the importance of accepting mistakes gracefully, both our own and those of others. In the story, the couple had a habit of criticizing their daughter-in-law whenever she made a mistake, particularly when it came to cooking. If the food was too salty or the bread slightly burnt, they would complain loudly and make her feel inadequate. Over time, this constant criticism wore her down, and she began to dread cooking for them, knowing that no matter how hard she tried, it would never be good enough. The monk's advice was clear: mistakes are a natural part of life, and they should be accepted with grace. Rather than focusing on the imperfections, we should appreciate the effort that was made. The food may not be perfect, but the fact that someone took the time to prepare it for us is something to be grateful for. This lesson is particularly important for the elderly, who may become more critical as they lose control over other aspects of their lives. It's easy to focus on the small mistakes of others when we feel powerless in other areas. However, the monk reminds the couple that by accepting these mistakes with kindness, they can create an atmosphere of support and encouragement rather than one of criticism and resentment. Accepting mistakes gracefully also applies to our own mistakes. As we age, we are bound to make more mistakes, whether it's forgetting something important or struggling with a task we used to be able to do easily. The monk encourages the couple to be gentle with themselves and not to let these mistakes define them. Instead of getting frustrated or embarrassed, they should accept these moments as part of the natural process of aging. This lesson is deeply tied to the Buddhist concept of impermanence. In Buddhism, everything is seen as temporary and ever-changing, including our abilities and strengths. As we age, we must come to terms with the fact that we are no longer as capable as we once were, and that's okay. By accepting this impermanence, we can approach life with a sense of peace and understanding. In a modern context, this lesson is especially relevant in a world that places so much emphasis on perfection. We are constantly bombarded with images of flawless lives and ideal outcomes, whether it's through social media or advertising. But the reality is that life is messy, and mistakes are a part of that mess. Learning to accept mistakes, both our own and others, is crucial for maintaining our mental and emotional well-being. In the story, the couple began to change their approach. Instead of criticizing their daughter-in-law's cooking, they started thanking her for the effort she put into the meal. They learned to overlook the small imperfections and focus on the bigger picture, the love and care that went into preparing the food. This shift in perspective had a profound effect on their relationship with her. She no longer felt anxious about cooking for them, and instead took pride in her role in the family. This lesson in accepting mistakes gracefully extends beyond the family dynamic. It applies to all areas of life. Whether it's a mistake at work, a misunderstanding with a friend, or even a personal failure, the ability to accept mistakes with grace is a sign of maturity and wisdom. It allows us to move forward without getting stuck in regret or resentment. The monk's teaching on this subject is a reminder that life is not about perfection. It's about progress and growth. Mistakes are not something to be ashamed of. They are opportunities to learn and improve. By accepting them with grace, we create an environment where others feel safe to make mistakes as well, knowing that they will not be judged or condemned. For the elderly, this lesson is especially important. As we age, we must learn to let go of the need for everything to be perfect. Our bodies will fail us at times, our minds may not be as sharp as they once were, and our relationships will have their ups and downs. But by accepting these imperfections, we can find peace in the process of aging rather than fighting against it. Chapter 4. The fourth lesson: keep family matters private. The final lesson the monk teaches is perhaps the most practical. Keep family matters within the family. In the story, the elderly couple had developed a habit of discussing their family's issues with outsiders. They would talk to neighbors and friends about their daughter-in-law's shortcomings, their son's failures, and their own struggles. While they may have felt that they were simply venting, this behavior only served to create more problems. The monk explains that when we share our family's private matters with others, we are opening the door to gossip and misunderstandings. People may appear sympathetic, but more often than not, they will spread rumors and make the situation worse. The monk encourages the couple to resolve their issues within the family, rather than seeking validation or advice from outsiders. This lesson is especially important in today's world, where social media makes it easy to share personal issues with a wide audience. It's tempting to post about our frustrations or grievances, but doing so can have serious consequences. Once something is shared publicly, it's out of our control, and we can't predict how others will interpret or use that information. In the story, the couple learned that their habit of talking about their daughter-in-law to others had damaged her reputation and strained their relationship even further. People in the community began to see her as lazy or disrespectful, based solely on the couple's complaints. This not only hurt the daughter-in-law, but also isolated the couple from their own family. The monk's advice is simple: keep family matters private. If there is a problem, address it within the family. By doing so, you protect the dignity of everyone involved and prevent unnecessary drama. The couple took this lesson to heart and stopped discussing their family's issues with others. Instead, they began communicating more openly with their son and daughter-in-law, which helped resolve many of the conflicts that had been festering for years. This lesson is particularly important for the elderly, who may feel the need to seek support from others when they are struggling. However, the monk reminds us that airing grievances outside the family often does more harm than good. It's better to address problems directly with those involved, rather than involving outsiders who may not have the family's best interests at heart. In today's fast-paced, connected world, this lesson is more relevant than ever. Social media, in particular, has made it easier for people to share intimate details of their lives with a wide audience. While it may feel cathartic to vent online, the repercussions can be damaging. Family matters are best handled privately, where they can be resolved with love and respect. For the couple in the story, keeping their family's issues private allowed them to rebuild trust and strengthen their relationships. They learned that by protecting their family's dignity, they were also protecting their own. The monk's final lesson serves as a reminder that family is sacred, and its issues should be treated with care and discretion. Conclusion: through this Buddhist story, we learn 4 timeless lessons that are especially relevant in old age: the importance of kind words, patience, acceptance of mistakes, and discretion in family matters. These teachings not only help us navigate our later years, but also ensure that we leave behind a legacy of wisdom and kindness for the next generation. As we reflect on these teachings, let's remember that aging is not something to be feared. It's a natural part of life, and with the right mindset and approach, it can be a time of great peace, fulfillment, and joy.